All right, everyone. So today the new video is about texture packing. So you saw it in the title of the video. So I know a lot of people have been asking for virtual texture. I know some people have been asking on how to set up a virtual texture. I still want to have a video, and the next one will be about that, most certainly. Um, but I wanted to talk about something that is for me important. I don't know if a lot of people have had the usual um, no texture pool size is over the limit or over budget, might expect some low performance. That is normal. I know a lot of people that just import their texture directly into Unreal, and it might not be the best thing for you. Actually, it's not just it might not. It's just not the right thing to do. So I'm going to show you what is the difference. Actually, there's none, but let's still talk about the differences between packing your texture individually. So, you have your albedo, your height, your normal, your occlusion, and your roughness separately, um, compared to packing your textures differently and how it can impact performance. So we're going to gloss over those three. So this is just an example texture I've made from a photo, and basically these three are three different methods to pack. There is unlimited methods to pack. You can pack your things how you want, tailor it for your need, and how they are going to be used based on how the compression works, and it will most certainly be fine. So I'm going to start with the original packing. It's not actually a packing, it's just each texture's sampled. So you have your base color, your so this is the roughness, normal, occlusion, and height. So all of your textures are packed separately. Um, this is quite expensive for multiple reasons. Your texture is going to be quite heavy compared to, let's say, if I have a textured open as is. So this is a 5 kilobyte, 5.4 kilobyte texture, and the height is the exact same amount of kilobyte. So obviously directly you know that you shouldn't be importing textures with just one information in it in Unreal when using it in a large scale environment mostly, because it's just not viable. You're not going to be using an entire 5.4 kilobyte of space for a 2K by 4K textures when you can have like three channel packed inside of one, because now we're going to be having like five of those. One, two, three, four, five. No, five. So you're going to be having five textures that are going to be very, very, very heavy for no reason when you can just pack them, and you won't really see a difference from what I'm going to show you next. So this is the method using each textures packed separately. So it's not in when I'm saying packed is just imported normally. So this is the result you're going to get, which is good. You're going to get your base color, you're going to get your roughness all separately. Um, so this is what I've seen from most people, just importing their texture all in one, all separately, and making their if you're going to have like if you're going to make an aero props, you can import it. If you're going to be rendering in Unreal, you can use directly just importing your textures in Unreal, and it will work fine, honestly. If you're going for a large scale environment, then you might want to change that a bit. Um, the next method is tree. So the classic packing, basically, there's multiple ways to do it, but still it's the classic packing method. So it's three textures instead of all five. So you got your albedo, your ORM, which is occlusion, roughness, metalness. if you still want to have your height, so it might not have the metalness here, but since it's not a metallic surface, you don't really need your metalness, but I'm still going to plug it, but it's not going to change anything. Um, but if you are needing your metalness, put it in. If you need your displacement, there's multiple ways to do it. There's the first way, which is just to put it inside of the alpha of your texture, but be careful with that. Your textures is going to be twice the size as it should be. So let's open the ORM, which is these two are exactly the same. Only difference is that in this one there's an alpha, not in this one. So there's no alpha packed in. And so basically in Unreal, when you have your textures imported as a BC1, um, and you have an alpha in your textures, it's going to double the space it takes. So as you can see here, it's 5.4 kilobyte, and in here it's 10.9. So it basically kind of doubled the space it took. Um, so it's something to note. It's not going to affect much because you're still not loading each texture separately, but know that when you are using the alpha channel of a texture, you're going to be doubling the space. So it's going to be a little bit more expensive. Um, but for most texture packing for a texture set, so for a path like this one, you're going to need at least the albedo, the roughness, the occlusion, and the normal. You might not necessarily need the height, but you're definitely going to be needing the normal. So that's already 3 channel for the base color, 2 channel for the normal, and I'm going to explain why just 2 channel in a bit. And you're going to have your occlusion and roughness. And so you're still sticked with only having two minimum of 2 textures to pack your entire thing. Most people will just go with 3. It's good enough. Uh, Games have been shipped with this packing method, and it's fine. It's not a big deal. When you need the height, it can be there. Um, but now you're having the price of 4 textures, but with only 3. So this one is 5.4. This one is 5.4, and I think it's a little bit more actually. It's 10.9. Yep. So a normal map, since it's a texture that needs to be a little bit more high quality, is going to take the space of 2 textures of the same packing. It's not necessarily exactly twice, but most of the time it will be. Um, and this is simply because it packs the texture differently. So let me just explain it quite quickly. Basically, a BC5 is a high quality compression. So you got all of your type of compression here. So you got BC5, you got BC1, BC3, you also got BC4, you got BC7. Is it BC7? Yeah, BC7. You got multiple type of packing that can be used. So this explains it basically. So a BC3 is the OG base color type of packing method. A BC4 is the alpha, so it's basically a high quality compression but for 1 channel. And when you have a texture like the ORM here with a height, basically what it's doing is that there's a BC1 in the RGB and a BC3, or no, actually, sorry. You have the BC3 and the alpha compressed as a BC4 inside of the same texture. So that's why it's a little bit more expensive. So the normal is always going to be a little bit more expensive. It's a texture that needs to have multiple, a better quality because you don't want to have like some sort of pixelated artifact in the normal. Most of the time, you're not going to be seeing those artifacts, honestly. So That's why my next method is to be taking into account, um, and I'm going to explain it why more further. Um, so my normal, this is a classic normal imported, and it's going to be a little bit more heavier. There's also, like I said, another method to importing your textures, your normal, sorry, and it's the NRH. So basically, in this texture, there is three channel, of course. So the RNG of the normal, and there's also the blue channel, which in this one is the height. Um, so my height is going to be in the blue channel of the normal, and I don't actually need the blue channel of a normal to still be able to make a normal. Um, in Unreal, there's something called derived derived normal Z, and this allows to recalculate the normal with just two channel. It's exactly the same as it is done when you import your textures as a normal, um, but it does it inside of the the shader. So if I append my x and y because it wants the in x and y, I'm going to get the exact same result um, as this texture. And now you're probably telling me, no, actually, we're not getting the same result. That is for a specific reason. I knew it was going to be doing this. It was so that I can explain it. A normal map in Unreal is going to be imported as a texture that is going to have their pixel ranging from -1 to 1. So, and when we import a texture, any other texture is going to be from 0 to 1. And the only way to fix that, um, so this textures directly is from -1 to 1. So it's as easy as that. You just plug it, ready to go. This when you want to have a sort of specific normal configuration inside of your packing method, you need to take into consideration this. So my texture here, my two values over here, my red and green, are going from 0 to 1. These are going from -1 to 1. So there's a simple mathematic thing you can do is just multiply by 2 and subtract 1. And now your normal is going to go from 0 to 1 to -1 to 1. It's so simple. I can just show with a drawing what is going on with this formula. So let's say you have your, this is my graph and this is my x and this is my y. So let's imagine that my normal values are from 0 to 1 and 1. Both of them are going like that, all right? And I want them to go all the way to 2. So this is going to be 2 over here. And right over here is going to be -1. So my texture is currently going from 0 to 1. And I want it to go from -1 to 1. So the first thing to do is multiplying by 2. What that is going to be doing is everything that is here is going to stay here because 0 multiplied by 0 still gives 0 multiplied by 2 still gives 0. If you have over here 0.5 multiplied by 2, it will go all the way over here. So all the values with the multiply by 2 are going to be doing just this. So they're going from 0 to 2. But we want them to go from -1 to 1. So that is why we subtract 1. So it's going to look from this to this. So basically we're multiplying the 0 to 1 range to 0 to 2, and we're subtracting 1 so that it goes from -1 to 1. It is as simple as that. It's a simple math tweak on the texture. And then you can see my normal is exactly the same on both, which is perfect. And so my last method combines kind of the thinking of these two into one, and I'm going to explain how I prefer mine. So mine only has two textures, and I'm going to explain how it's packed. So there's always the albedo in one texture, so you know your RGB values, so it goes directly into the base color. And in my other one, I have only my other channels in them. So in this one, I have the albedo over here, just the usual albedo, classic method. I mean, that is just how it should be packed in. But in my alpha, I've got the X channel of my normal. It's going to sound weird, but trust me, it works. And um, it's going to be very useful to be putting it this way because in an alpha channel of a BC1 texture, the alpha channel has a little bit more information than the rest. If we go into the blue channel, we can see that it is very well compressed, first of all. There's a lot of cubes and compression squares and zone where it's going to be compressed. Um, the green channel has the less amount of compression of all of these channel, and the one that has the middle one would be the red channel. And so the alpha has almost like very little to almost none compression artifact. Um, and it's not going to be as a normal packing compression setting. It's just going to be with the rest of the albedo. The alpha channel is already a linear um, value, so it's just going to be packed like that. And so now you might be thinking, where is the Y channel of your normal? Why it's not on the same texture? That's where the other one comes in. In the other alpha of the texture, here is my Y channel. So it makes my texture making and packing a little bit different because I have my Y channel of the normal and the rest, of course. So I've got my, so this is my occlusion. Is that it? No, sorry, this is my roughness. I got my height and my occlusion with my Y channel of the normal over here. And so it's as simple as just using these two values, so the alpha as a X and the other alpha as a Y, and I can rebuild my normal the same way I've just showed you um, with the derived normal Z. You can use a derived normal Z, but most of the time a normal will look basically the same if you just append one. Um, the reason for that is so basically the blue value of a normal map is telling the texture actually how much it should be pointing upward on the surface. And honestly, a texture is should always, like, if you don't see a pixel, it means that it's not pointing upward. And so a texture will always have a blue value of at least somewhere close to 1. So instead of calculating it and adding more like values to the shader count and complexity, I've decided to scrap the derived normal Z, so the this value. Oops, sorry. This node, and instead just use the append one. It's going to do the exact same thing. There's not going to be much difference. So you can append one. You can derive normal Z if you want a very, very, very accurate normal representation, but no need to actually derive it. Just adding one will work. And then I have my normal intensity, of course. I've just bumped it a little bit. But it's going to look exactly the same on all of those three. No difference can be visual. Like, the only difference I would maybe think would be the normal. And even so, like, it's not even, like, you don't really see it that much. I don't think there's a big difference in normal quality in either of these three. Um, and in my opinion, packing textures in just two textures. So basically, as I remembered, as I want to make you realize, this is 10.9 kilobytes. The other one is also 10.9 kilobytes. So basically, this is the same as loading like something like four textures um, of the price of these. So having your ORM, having your albedo and your normal. This one is already a two texture compared to the albedo. Two size texture, twice the size of one texture. Um, so basically, it's kind of like having two, three, and four. And even if you put your height in the ORM, this one is going to be two textures, twice the size. So it's going to be one, two, three, four, five. Um, and having them separate, well, it's going to be one, two, three, four, five. So basically, having my method is only costing four textures compared to the other one. Well, four size of the albedo textures compared to the other one. So I think, in my opinion, my method is probably one of the best it can be. I can't pack it more. And if, like, I know a lot of people will probably be telling me, yeah, but if your textures have metalness, what are you going to be doing? Well, then I'm kind of obligated to go to another method. So if your textures has a metalness value, um, well, then you can either use a channel for it and change your packing method for it. So, going back to the albedo, aura M, and normal with the height in the blue channel, you can do that. Um, you can try to pack it differently, or if your texture is fully metallic everywhere, you don't need to have a channel wasted for it. It's going to be one. So you can, in your shader, instead of having your imagine this is the metalness, having it plugged, you can either have like a static switch and use like a use full metalness, and when it's set to true, it's going to be one, otherwise it's going to be like zero, or it's going to be the the method or whatever, like whatever it can be. You can just, if it's going to be fully metallic, you can just like force it to be one. No need to have a full channel wasted for it, because it's going to waste a full channel. If I accept it, then now it's metallic. Um, so think of your packing method as best as you can, because it is really going to be making a big hit in performance. And not only that, when you're calling to textures, a texture sample is probably one of the most complex thing to have in a shader. It is, your graphic cards need to go and fetch the texture from your SSD and the RAM and whatever. And so it's going to be a very, very expensive task. So having a texture packed like all separately, you're going to have 5 draw calls with this. In this one, you're going to be having 3. And in this one, you're going to be having only 2. And for the cost of 4 size of the albedo only. So it's probably one of the best methods to pack. I don't know why the classic method is albedo, ORM, and normal. Um, Personally, I really much prefer this. And having the height, some people might don't understand why we have the height baked inside of our texture. And if you need to do some blends, some uh, adding displacement, or just most of the time it's for the blend, and so that the blend kind of goes in between the cracks or on the top of the rocks or whatever. The the height is really going to be necessary in those situations because you basically needs it. And if you pack it all the time with it, you're always going to be having it. Always going to be having it, like all the time. It's always going to be there with you. The height is a very important information, in my opinion. It shouldn't be wasted. Um, and pack your texture to have it so that you don't have to, if at one point you need it, have to retailor your entire material system so that it fits with it, and or have to re-export and then re-import your textures in Unreal to make them have the height. So I would really much suggest to pack your textures with a height information. So that's it. I know it's a lot of talking. You know, height is packing method is mostly a video about packing method is mostly just about, like, explaining and showing. There's not a lot of shader work to be shown. Um, but I really think when using Unreal or even Blender or Maya, whatever, to really optimize the way your textures are going to be loaded, it's also going to be removing a lot of um, weight on your entire project and on your computer. Packing your textures is very, very, very important, in my opinion, and keep optimizing, people. Be careful with that. That's it. It's the end of the video, and I hope you liked it. I hope you're going to be packing your textures differently. Um, if you have any question about it or any ways to optimize even more your packing method, I know there is another way too. You can, there's something called texture array, which I might try to look into. It works a little bit differently, but it still works. Um, but don't be shy and go and comment, and I will definitely respond to you. All right, see you soon, everyone.